Week 2 is a wrap in the NFL, and so are a couple seasons. Oh my goodness, the injuries are piling up, but don't worry, because there's two dudes who are still healthy. It's me and Chris Meaney, and we're going to break it all down for you. The Week 2 recap on the PreSnap starts right now.
You're listening to the PreSnap podcast, brought to you by LineStar, the top-rated DFS tool set and #1 companion for DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Go LineStar Premium now at LineStarApp.com. Now, here are your hosts, fantasy football experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.
Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and welcome to the PreSnap right here on the LineStar app. It's me and it's Chris Meaney, and we're talking football right here on LineStar. And Chris, it was another fun weekend of football. Not so fun if you are a Steelers fan, a Saints fan, and if you're a Dolphins fan, I think you are already thinking about, I don't know, Christmas, Thanksgiving, the holidays are coming. You're probably more focused on that, but my goodness, a whole lot of triage from week 2, and it's all just piling up.
It really is. I mean, I know a couple Dolphin fans. They're hiding right now. I haven't heard from them since the start of the season. I don't blame them, but here we are heading into week 3, and there are a lot of quarterback injuries like you talked about. I mean, week 3, and there's like Mason Rudolph. We got Gardner Minshew who's starting games. We got Trevor Siemian who's starting games. Teddy Bridgewater starting games. It is
starting. We might have Daniel Jones starting too. I mean, by the time this podcast is over, who knows?
Very good chance of that. Yeah, I mean, before we got on here and we were talking, last I saw was the Giants refused to name a week 3 starter yet. So, I mean, if you watched Eli the past couple of weeks, you know it's time to eventually turn the page, and like, why not just do it now?
Yeah, I would agree. I think you might as well. I mean, you have nothing to lose. What are you going to lose? More games? No, of course not. Can't get any worse. But we're going to talk about how this is going to affect everything going forward in your lineups and all of this good stuff. But let's begin with, again, a good week for the upset special, because what did we get? We got the Detroit Lions. That's right. Your upset special, the Detroit Lions. They did it. I knew it, Chris. Once we got into the fourth quarter and I saw that score, I was like, man, the Chargers did not shut that door, did they? They really didn't put enough separation. This is going to get real ugly real fast. And sure enough, it did. And there you have it. So Mike Randall and I crushed it again 2 weeks in a row with the upset special. The Bills again winning in the Meadowlands. We were all over that one. It was pretty good. I was on San Francisco. Mike was not, but overall, very, very good for us. And I'm trying to remember now, where do we stand this week with the touchdown calls? Did we how did we do there, Chris?
I didn't get any, and I thought I had one with Cooper Kupp. There was a large play in that game, and it was originally announced a touchdown, and I jumped up like first in one of my GPPs, and I was like loving it. And then all of a sudden they reversed that touchdown. I dropped down a little bit, but it was a large play. I had him and Alvin Kamara. Didn't quite get the offense that I expected from that game. Obviously, Drew Brees leaving early had a lot to do with it. All the Saints' weapons were pretty much,
and I had Josh Jacobs, so another. It's like we got volume but no touchdown. So sorry guys, we'll do better. So we're still got 6 on the board in 2 weeks. So that's pretty good. 6 on the board in 2 weeks.
That is pretty good. Yeah, and right there with you on the Lions. I mean, the Chargers. Obviously, those injuries happen early in the week, and originally I was like, maybe I'm going to pick the Chargers. But as soon as they started to announce like Hunter Henry and other guys on their line just kind of falling apart, it was typical Chargers. I mean, they were right there with that game, and they missed a couple field goals. It just seems to be always something with LA, whether it's an injury on the line, another guy falling down in the secondary offensively, and a kicker that just can't seem to get it done. It's just the Chargers they got to have the worst luck, I think, in football over the past decade. It's I haven't seen anything like it before.
Yeah, well, look, non-conference road games, always trouble. Always trouble. Always traps. You got to watch out for those. And look, Chargers, they're just a team that's missing a lot of pieces. And that was the point I was making. How many pieces are we going to take away before it starts to pile up and make a difference? And I think we're starting to see what that number is. And, of course, leave it to the Chargers. We'll write them off, and then they'll have a run. That'll be classic Chargers. That'll all happen. But let's talk about the good things before we start talking about the fallouts from all the injuries. Let's talk about the good at quarterback first. And I think right now it's Lamar Jackson's world, and we're just living in it, man. He rushed for 120 yards. He threw for 270, 2 more touchdowns. So I know the competition has been about as bad as it can get the first 2 weeks. But even so, it's great to see Lamar Jackson be this good in the NFL. I don't care who he's playing against.
No, week 1 he didn't do it at all with his legs, and then week 2 he showed you he can do it with his legs. I mean, 120 rushing yards, it's really not even fair. It is like a running back, and he made that comment, like, not bad for running back after week 1 when he threw those 5 touchdowns on like what 20 completions or whatever it was. And now he does it with his legs, and it's that dual threat that we loved. It's that safe floor in DFS that we love, and his price had jumped up almost $1,000 on both sites, FanDuel and DraftKings, and I'm sure it's going to continue to rise when he puts out these kind of games. And now we have a week 3 matchup where it's Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. Like, buckle up. This is what you want. These two guys it's both of their worlds. They're getting it done. They're both very, very impressive. And looking forward to this matchup. And they should be the highest quarterbacks on the board in terms of pricing, and they should have the highest ceilings, really. I mean, again, we're talking about some big-time guys that are no longer around. So if you have Lamar Jackson in a season-long league, good for you. And if you are a DFS player, a cash game player, Lamar Jackson needs to be plugged in your lineup. Just set it and forget it.
Had him in the first 2 weeks, both games, had him in a fair amount of lineups, and it's impossible not to take that value. We'll see what happens now, as I'm sure that value is going to start to change, and some of the competition will get a little bit better. It's going to be a little up and down. So we'll keep an eye on that. That real contest is going to come when he plays the Patriots in a couple weeks there. I think it's the early November game. I can't wait for that one. You could circle that one. That's going to be fun to watch. I want to see Lamar Jackson against that Patriots defense and what happens, what's going to give. Patrick Mahomes was pretty much Patrick Mahomes. Talking about, like, this is one of those instances where I don't always like to pay up for Mahomes, but this week against Oakland, I wanted to, and 443, 4 touchdowns, led all week 2 guys with 4 touchdowns at quarterback. So a pretty good day for Mahomes. And considering the first half was kind of blasé, really it was all just in the second half for the most part.
A lot of it was in the second quarter. I mean, this guy's setting records. Unbelievable. 278 yards passing on 13 completions and 4 touchdowns in the second quarter.
Second quarter. I meant to say first quarter.
But that's the kind of, I mean, that's the kind of ceiling he has. It's unbelievable. You're right. When things don't look like it's going his way early, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, 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 and he's got 4 passing touchdowns. It's unreal, and he's doing it without a run game at all. It was non-existent yesterday in that game against Oakland. No Tyreek Hill. Sammy Watkins didn't have a good game, so he's utilizing even deeper down the depth chart. Guys like DeMarcus Robinson, McCole Hardman both found the end zone, both had big games, and yeah, Patrick Mahomes can do no wrong. He's very, very impressive, and I don't know if there's going to be any regression. Like, a lot of talk like he can't do 50 touchdowns again. Well, he's well on his way to having another 50 touchdown season.
If you're the Bears right now and you're looking at Mitch Trubisky, who over 2 games has thrown for 340 yards, 0 touchdowns, a QBR 27, passer rating of 65, and you moved heaven and earth in that draft to get him.
Yeah.
Are you firing everybody who scouts for you? Like, are you just like, what are you doing? Like, because Patrick Mahomes should have been the guy you moved heaven and earth for, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he should have been the guy. And I mean, even look at Baltimore. I mean, they look like just huge winners in the draft when they just snuck in and took Lamar Jackson with the last pick in the first round. So yeah, Mitch Trubisky looks really, really bad. He does. And I know it's going into Denver is not the easiest environment, but Derek Carr was able to at least have some success against the Broncos in week 1. There was nothing to like about Mitch Trubisky. Again, it's been 2 straight weeks. And last year, towards the end of the season, he didn't look all that good either. I mean, you take away that huge game I think he had against Tampa last year. What was it, 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns? And this has just been a very mediocre quarterback since he's entered the league.
All right, let's talk about the running backs and Dalvin Cook. Man, there's not a lot of guys who are getting 20 carries a game, but Dalvin Cook is. And let me tell you, Dalvin Cook knows what to do with them as well. I mean, just a great outing from him, 20 for 154. I know they lost the game because Kirk Cousins continues to make bad decisions, but man, 20 for 154 and a touchdown. He is now right in that cusp of this elite group. And now the Kamara could potentially take a little bit of a hit. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I mean, it's hard not to get excited about Cook every week now. I mean, this is a back-to-back good games where not just good, but we're talking about game-changing runs. Like, he just breaks things away. He did in the preseason too, that 80-yard run, and we're like, okay, let's take a deep breath. But now it's happening in the real stuff right now, in the real games.
Yeah, oh yeah, leading the league right now in rushing 265 yards. He's second in the NFL in rushing attempts with 41. He's involved in the passing game. He's got 5 catches on 5 targets. And I think we said this last week, but yeah, they bring in Gary Kubiak, and this is what he's known for. They want to run the football there in Minnesota, and I know Adam Thielen owners are probably a little bit bummed over the first couple weeks of the season. Diggs, saved his day with a touchdown yesterday, but this is what Minnesota wants to do. They want to run the football, and you're right. There's not a lot of running backs who are touching the ball 20 plus times consistently, he's one of them.
Yeah, and on the other side of that ball for the Green Bay Packers was Aaron Jones, who we talked about having a bounce back, and he did. 23 for 116, the touchdown. Don't panic about the Williams touchdown. That was not a design touchdown. That was a touchdown, just kind of happened. Yeah. So don't go, oh my God, it's a timeshare. No, it's not. It's fine. It's Aaron Jones. He was excellent. Ezekiel Elliott, also very strong. So he is now back, 23 for 111 and a touchdown for him. Let's talk about those San Francisco guys, because they are going to be a value this week too against the Steelers. You had Mostert, who had 13 for 83, and then a receiving touchdown and a fair amount of receiving yards there too. And then Matt Breida, 12 for 121. I know it was the Bengals, but still the two-headed monster here for the 49ers. Is this something that you're going to start to pay more attention to?
Yeah, I mean, I think you should. It's really crowded there. I mean, what do you do? Yeah, all cheap. All the guys are cheap. I mean, you're really rolling the dice with these guys because, I mean, Mostert, in my opinion, looked the best. I mean, he played 47% of the snaps, 13 for 83, caught 3 balls and 4 targets for another 68. And Breida only played 29% of the snaps, but he had 121 yards on 12 carries. And then there's Jeff Wilson, who comes in and gets a couple touchdowns, 10 for 34. And it seemed like he was the goal line back. It's amazing. He was inactive in week 1. And then in week 2, he's in there getting all the red zone rushing attempts. So it is a very tricky situation. You're going to trust any of these guys and from DFS, but they're all going to be fairly cheap. So I like Mostert. Breida probably has the highest ceiling of the trio, but I just feel like Mostert runs really hard. I like the way he runs. I like the fact that he was involved in the passing game there yesterday. And it just goes to show, like, heading into the season, like everyone who's so high on Tevin Coleman, this was a running back by committee for sure. Like, without question, and it will be the rest of the way, even when Tevin Coleman comes back. Like, there's just going to be a lot.
Tevin Coleman might not come back to anything.
Right.
Let's be honest, everybody. You know, I'm so sick of the Tevin Coleman hype. I've been hearing it for years. Yeah. I am sick of it, Chris. No.
Yeah, no. He's not a great running back, like between the tackle guy. And he was never a red zone guy, never was in Atlanta. It was always Devonta Freeman. It was Coleman had that big season in Atlanta with Kyle Shanahan. I think that's why people were starting to get excited. Sure, when Tevin Coleman comes back, maybe he'll be involved in the passing game, but this is a very, very crowded backfield, and I think guys like Mostert and Breida just run better than him in between the tackles. So, I mean, Tevin Coleman is certainly behind the 8 ball here now, and what is a committee?
All right, let's talk about some of the receiving leaders here. DeMarcus Robinson, did you have him in your lineup? I know some people did. We were on the Mecole Hardman train. That paid off too. Like, that was pretty good. He got the touchdown. That's all that mattered. I did not see the DeMarcus Robinson game happening. I mean, that guy's been there. I'm not looking too much into this, but you know what I love about this game is that all those people taking the victory lap on Sammy Watkins got to shut the hell up because
well, this is what I said on one of my shows. It's like, you can't play him in cash. You just can't. I know the fact that he is the number 1 wide receiver there now, but you just can't because there's one injury risk, and his price just skyrocketed up too high to where he wasn't a value. He had to have another game like that really to return value. So even going forward, I don't think that I would play him in cash if he's going to be a top 5 wideout in terms of price. I don't think I'll get there. I don't think DeMarcus Robinson's going to have this kind of game, but I am intrigued. You have to be intrigued a little bit with the offense, especially now hearing Damian Williams dealing with a knee injury, LaShawn McCoy
that's where I was going next. I mean,
so maybe they're going to have to throw the ball.
All that Darwin Thompson talk I've been talking up all summer, all of a sudden starting to sound pretty good.
He's an automatic drop week 1. Now all of a sudden he's an automatic pickup. It's crazy. You just need to be patient with your roster in season-long formats. And he's going to, if there's no Shady and no Williams, I mean, you're going to want to play this guy in that offense. Absolutely.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp had the big game, as we mentioned earlier. Chris Godwin, too, on Thursday night had a huge game. Yeah. Tyler Boyd, 10 for 122. No touchdown there. But John Ross showed up again, 4 for 112. He only caught half of his targets, but still, you know, he's that big play guy. He is that guy until the salary catches up. Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald, both very good. I was very much on Fitzgerald. I kind of let Kirk go, but turns out he was good. And let's not forget from the tight end position, Mark Andrews, who we talked about being the guy who has the higher floor of any other player on that Ravens offense. And he found the floor and the ceiling again 2 weeks in a row here.
Yeah, very impressive stuff from Andrews. I mean, you have yourself a for sure I may even go as a top 4 tight end. Like I may even put him ahead of Ingram because of the mess that is the New York Giants, and OJ Howard is just non-existent right now. He's blocking more than he's running pass routes. So, I mean, you have Mark Andrews. I mean, you continue to play him. The price is obviously going to rise. It's been a nice discount. You got a game this week against Kansas City. You expect to throw the ball, and he's the number one option there. I know Marquise Brown had more targets, but in my opinion, Mark Andrews is the number one option. And you don't really see that a lot from tight ends. There's not a lot of safety when we're talking about tight ends in DFS. It's usually, do you pay up or you just try to find some value with guys? There's some safety with Mark Andrews. He's a big part of this offense. Back-to-back games with over 100 yards and a touchdown in each game, and in each game 8 catches. That's huge from the tight end position.
How about the fact that Jason Witten has more catches and touchdowns than OJ Howard right now?
It's concerning.
It's
concerning.
Listen, I am all in. I'm telling you right now, get ready, because Thursday show, you're going to hear me say it again. So here it comes. Fire up all the OJ Howard this week against the Giants, because the Giants are the worst against the tight end. Always, every year, the worst.
But you know what's going to happen? Cameron Brate's going to catch a couple. Like you're looking at the snaps. It has been all OJ Howard in terms of snaps. Like
it's going to be a gross overreaction by the coaching staff this week to get him the football in the perfect time, which is against the Giants. So don't worry. I'm telling you, the ownership's going to be 0.00001.
Well, that I agree
me
with.
And anyone else listening to the show. I'm telling you right now.
That I agree with. I mean, I'm not cutting him loose in any of my season long formats, but I don't know if I'm there yet to start him. I need to see something. And we've seen the narrative with Bruce Arians and how he doesn't utilize his tight ends. But, OJ Howard is just a different beast. Like he had entered this season, and ever since he had actually entered the NFL, nobody had a higher yards per catch average than him. Like we know what he can do. It's just Jameis right now. It's just a little bit of a disconnect with Jameis and some of his weapons apart from Godwin. So yeah, I'm not ready to give up on him yet. It is a primetime matchup, but it's very discouraging that Winston's not even looking his way, not even getting him any looks, any targets. It's not I don't love it.
Don't worry. Come on. I'm going to be like, you remember that scene in Jerry Maguire when he's leaving the office and he's like, who's coming with me? And he's got the briefcase and the fish. That's me. Yeah. I got the fish. Like last week was the Joe Pesci meme that was flying around. And this week it's going to be the Jerry Maguire one. It's me with the fish, the goldfish in the bag, and my briefcase. And who knows? Maybe Renee Zellweger will pop out. Who knows?
Well,
I'm fine with that. She can come with me.
Yeah,
if that's all I get, that's fine. I can take that.
I'm coming.
I'm not going to complain. Oh, you're gonna Chris Meany's going to come too.
I'm coming to
company. Me, Renee Zellweger, and
the fish in the briefcase.
No Scientology. Okay, I don't want any. None. None. But Cuba Gooding Jr. he can come. He seems like he's fun. He can come hang out with us too. We'll start a company. It'll be great. All right. The one thing I was definitely wrong about, and I'll take all the heat. And it's injury. I mean, what are we going to do? But I was all in on the Steelers, man. And I was feeling the Steelers bounce back. Connor got hurt. And but that's okay, because I wasn't invested in Connor so much as Roethlisberger and the receivers. Oh, but it's hard to throw when your elbow is no longer attached to your body. So here we go. It's done for the year for Ben Roethlisberger. And as soon as I saw him grab the elbow, I knew. I was like, oh, he's done for the year.
He's done.
That's it. It's over. And now you got Mason Rudolph, who, let me tell you, was fun to watch. I thought. What'd you think of Mason Rudolph?
Took some shots downfield, and this is what he did in college with his boy James Washington. These two played together.
And you know what? We're not the only ones who are going to mention this, okay? Right. I'm sure everybody in the DFS community is talking about it right now, but doesn't make it not right. So James Washington, Mason Rudolph is going to be a very popular pairing this weekend in tournaments coming up, and I'm still okay with that. I will be part of that populace. I'm okay with that. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm all right with it too. I mean, I have to take the bullet here too, because I like James Washington last week. I was talking him up on a couple shows, this one included, how I thought it could be a potential breakout for him. I've just never been a Dante Moncrief fan. I said that last week. I said that he was brutal, and he got benched yesterday because another drop. I mean, a ball hit him square in the head. Like, it was like the easiest pass in the world to catch, and went right between his hands and hit him like right in the forehead, and he's done. He's got. I wouldn't be shocked if he's cut.
Check this out. All right. You ready for this? You ready? Yeah. You're holding on to your socks. All right, let's do this.
I'm ready.
If you put Mason Rudolph and James Washington together on FanDuel, again, this is kind of early look at the slate.
All the money in the world.
All the money in the world. I've got Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, and DeAndre Hopkins, and it's not even hard to fill out the rest of this lineup because I've already done it. Yeah, and the combinations are very good. I'm telling you right now on FanDuel, you can do it easily.
Yeah, and you take those discounts, when guys are chalk up near the top, like maybe for example, like an Alvin Kamara, for example, like he was chalk, but he was expensive. But you take a guy like James Washington who checks in at a low price, like if that doesn't work, it's basically just a punt play, right? I mean, he doesn't have to do a whole lot to return value. So yeah, you're right. A lot of the fantasy community is going to be in on this duo and this connection, but it doesn't matter because it's super cheap and it'll allow you just to, if you're a guy that likes to play multiple lineups, a guy or a girl likes to play multiple lineups, you can do this with other big guys. I mean, you can do Hopkins in there, try Julio in there, swap both of them, and then if those other guys hit, you're actually you're loving it because one of your big guys are going to hit if you just like filter it through a couple.
Well, and especially with Connor banged up too. I don't know if he's going to play yet. Obviously, it's too soon to know. It doesn't look like it's trending in the right direction. I'm sure Jalen Samuel will be very trendy. Maybe Benny Snell. People want to take shots there, but dude, I'm just going to stick with Rudolph in Washington. They're cost effective. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to take the risk of Juju, and I think it's a good spot. Now, let's go to the other one too and talk about the Saints because here's a situation where Breeze is going to be back eventually. It's going to be at least 6 weeks. We'll see what happens here. But, Michael Thomas, you're not getting a discount on him right away. So we'll see what happens in that. Bridgewater's not a guy that I'm super involved or super excited about right now. But it's funny, in season long, I mentioned this on the Black Book podcast. I am all in right now trying to peel Kamara, Michael Thomas away, not cheap, but maybe just a slight discount, because I think there will be some overreaction in season long to that loss of Drew Brees. And those guys are still elite players. It's not going to change all that much. You're still going to get the football a ton. They might not be as prolific, but it's still going to be pretty darn good. And then what happens if Brees comes back and you're in the fantasy playoffs? All of a sudden, you're rocking and rolling. So for me, this is an opportunity. How do you feel about this whole Saints situation with Bridgewater right now going forward with the rest of the pieces?
Yeah, well, I think you definitely have to downgrade everyone in the offense. I mean, that's pretty obvious, and also like they may run the football a little bit more. Latavius could get more involved. We've yet to really see Alvin Kamara get that like heavy workload that we all want. We saw a little bit of it, last year when Mark Ingram was not with the team for the first few weeks, but he still wasn't getting a ton of work in between the tackles. So I agree though, like in your season long format, this is the time. Maybe even one more week. Maybe it struggles in Seattle with Bridgewater and owners are really down on Michael Thomas because he still is coming off a 10 catch game, 89 yards. So I think it could be easier to ply him away from an owner after next week. But yeah, good opportunity to your point. The schedule is not all that good over the next few weeks though. Like in Jacksonville is not going to be an easy environment for Bridgewater. Then week 7 in Chicago, not going to be a good one. And then Arizona is going to be all right. Then you're going to get the bye. And then after that, like the schedule gets real nice. Like you're going to get some dome games. You got the Falcons twice. You got Carolina. You got San Fran, week 16, Tennessee. So season long format, sure. Like I'm more interested in Michael Thomas than I am Kamara, but I think you have to downgrade everyone in this offense with Bridgewater. I'm with you. I'm not a huge Teddy fan, but it'll take some time for them to gel. And there's some weapons around him where he could be okay.
Yeah, look, I think here's the problem. The secondary weapons now become far less appealing. And now I think if you get a discount on the top guys, you take the discount, but it has to be a real discount because I still think Alvin Kamara is still an elite talent. So is Michael Thomas, and Teddy Bridgewater will be okay. He just won't be Drew Brees. Now, Mason Rudolph not going to be Ben Roethlisberger either, but Mason Rudolph is young and athletic, moves around a lot. He's throwing the deep ball, which is something Bridgewater typically struggled with.
Yep.
So there's a lot of reasons to get kind of, I think, in a weird way excited. I mean, if you're a Steelers fan, you've thrown in the towel already. The terrible towel has so many tears in it from the first 2 weeks. I mean, could these first 2 weeks get any worse? First, you lose to the Patriots in just an embarrassing shellacking on Sunday Night Football in front of the world. Then you come back at home. Roethlisberger's out for the year. You lose your running back. Antonio Brown scoring touchdowns for the same Patriots that beat you last week, which has got to be the knife in the heart or the back. I don't know. Maybe the balls. The knife is going somewhere. And then on top of which, now it's like the rookie quarterback in his first year has to come in now and play. So, I mean, I guess it's nothing but uphill from here, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all over. I know I'm taking victory laps, and I don't wish any injuries on anybody, but I said this numerous times that they were one Big Ben injury away from their season being just done. And that's how I feel. And that's how I feel today. I feel like this is Baltimore's division to lose. And yeah, there's going to be some growing pains in Pittsburgh this season, especially if James Conner is, dealing with a significant injury. It's one thing to lose Big Ben, and throw in a quarterback that really doesn't have a ton of experience in the NFL. But it's another thing to lose a guy like James Conner, who had a really good season last year and was a big part of that offense, getting a lot of touches. So now they're going to have to lean on potentially, because we don't know about Conner, but they could now have to lean on a rookie running back in Snell and a guy in Jalen Samuels who's not a great in between the tackle runner, right? This is a tight end at one point, moved to a running back, and he's better as a pass catcher. So there's a lot of just, I don't know, I don't even know how to put it. There's just not a lot to like in Pittsburgh at the moment. So I guess this week when we talk DFS plays, I suppose some of these guys will probably go low. We'll probably go low own, Joe. Like Michael Thomas and Kamara, nobody's going to want to spend up for those guys.
No, and they shouldn't, because the price is built in. It's cooked in for Breeze, and there's nothing you can get around that right now. We'll see what happens over the next couple weeks, how that changes and the fluctuations of it, or maybe there's a matchup we like with a bad corner or something like that, and then we take a shot. That's fine. But I don't know if this is the week to do it. It doesn't seem like it, that's for sure. Especially with so much value on the board potentially, especially on the FanDuel side. Looking ahead, a quick look ahead, as I always like to do here on Monday is, you clear the dust off of Sunday and then you start looking already, you start putting the work in. And that's what the LineStar app is for, by the way. And you should all get out there and use that LineStar app. And if you haven't already, make sure you go and subscribe to the premium product, because it is absolutely the best DFS tool site I've ever seen and I've ever gotten to utilize. And they got a lot of stuff right again this week. And I'm telling you right now, when you're looking ahead, there's that soft underbelly of wide receiver, the John Browns under 6K, the Kirks, the Fitzgeralds of the world, Washington's in that group. There's a ton of those guys.
Really Fitz. He's in for a huge season. Everyone that counted him out last year. I mean, he had the back-to-back.
I own him everywhere, Meaney.
I own him a lot too.
Every league.
And he was going wide receiver 40, 45, 46. It's crazy because last year he finished his wide receiver 26.5 point setting with poor quarterback play. Kyler Murray held his own yesterday. I thought he looked pretty good considering he was in Baltimore. And he really didn't turn the ball over. It didn't have a lot of success throwing touchdowns, but I mean, they were right there in that game and with a chance to, not lose by a lot. I thought he held his own. So if you're a Larry Fitzgerald owner, this guy always gets disrespect in the DFS community. Nobody ever wants to play him, especially on FanDuel. They're like, oh no, but you only get half a point for a catch. There's always just seems to be an excuse for Larry Fitzgerald. So I'm looking at his price right now, $5,900 in the slot. Clearly going to just eat all year, and this guy's in for another 100 catch season in my opinion.
All right, let's talk about some more coach speak. How do you like this one? Pat Shurmer in the press conference today, when asked about Eli Manning being the starter, he said, well, Eli's been our starter so far.
Well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. He has been the starter so far. I mean, Eli looks bad. He really does. And there's not a whole lot of help on his team.
No,
but
it's a bad football team.
It is time to turn the page here. It really is.
Here comes Danny Dimes. It's time for Danny Dimes. Hey, yo, how you doing, Danny Dimes?
Daniel Jones didn't look, I know it's his preseason, but I watched his first game. He didn't look bad. He was throwing. He was hitting guys in stride. It was the anticipation throws that I thought were key, especially from a young quarterback. Sometimes they don't trust those reads, and they wait for the guy to turn. Then by then it's too late. Jones was at least, hey, I'm throwing it, and this is where I want him to be. This is where I expect him to be. And that is something I haven't seen from Eli in quite some time. So I would not be shocked. Start this week. What do they got? The Bucks? Yeah, just throw out Daniel Jones. Why not?
Yeah. All right. Obviously, the Patriots defense shut out the Miami Dolphins, and now the Dolphins are going for their first road game, and they're going to Dallas. So far, it's pretty much looked like the best, if not tied for the best team in the NFC. It's tough to gauge because again they played the Giants and the Redskins, who are far from world beaters, but Prescott's played wonderfully, and the rest of the team just seems like it's firing on all cylinders. So I don't care if you have to pay up for the top for the Dallas defense. I think you do it this week, don't you? I mean, how do you not?
I think you do it every single week.
Who are the Dolphins playing? Oh, yep, they were just going to go up to there. It's bad.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I played the Patriots 4 times in my season-long formats, and I didn't win a lot of matchups because there was one league where they got 48 points against me. It was just heavy on the sacks and the return touchdowns.
You want to hear a fun
if
stat?
You had them, you won cash as well. Yeah, I did.
Two fun stats. I own the Patriots in 80% of my season-long leagues because they were free defense at the end. Nobody picked the Patriots. I don't know why, Because if you go back, here's another fun fact. You ready for this one? Over the last 3 games, including the Super Bowl, the Patriots have outscored their opponents 89-6. Okay, and this is including the Rams, and this is including the Steelers. Yeah. Now, whether or not Roethlisberger's elbow was hurting him then, I don't know. All I know is that it didn't look like it was hurting them. He just looked like they sucked. So I'll put it under the other way. But now if you add in the AFC Championship game too, that's 2 more scoreless quarters against Patrick Mahomes. Then, of course, you had the 4 touchdowns that they gave up in that AFC Championship game, in the second half. But just saying that that's a pretty incredible run, and I think people need to recognize that. And they were really good against the Chargers. This was a young defense, and a defense that needed to kind of figure it out a little bit, and it looks like they figured it out, Meaney. And I know it's just the Dolphins, but it was the Steelers last week, and it's kind of scary to think about. I don't know what the San Antonio Brown thing's going to be. I don't know. You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. We'll see where this goes. It's going to be week to week.
Yeah.
But oh my God, that could be absolutely terrifying if they have the best offense and the best defense in football on the same team.
What do you think? They're going to win another Super Bowl? This is very likely.
They might not lose another game all year.
Likely. Yeah,
they might not lose a game all year.
Yeah,
they play the East this year. They're going to play the Giants. They're going to play the Redskins. They're going to play the Cowboys. That should be fun.
Yeah,
they're going to play the Chiefs. They're going to play the Ravens. Those are some of the bigger teams.
Yeah.
But outside of that, they're also going to play the Redskins. They're also going to play the Jets 2 more times. They're also going to play the Dolphins again in New England. I mean, it's hard not to see them having 14 wins. It really is right now.
Yeah, the only tough schedule. I mean, the only tough games. I mean, in Buffalo will be tough, but they'll pull that out. They'll win that game. In Baltimore, like that one will be a good one. And then
Buffalo will be a great test because that defense is for real.
It is for real. That's the 3 stretch. I mean, at Baltimore, then you got your bye, then at Philly, and then home to Dallas. That's a good stretch, and then you'll have that Houston game, and then KC will come to town. So, like, yeah, but it's hard for me not to say that they're not going to win a game. This is what I said last week when I was talking about spreads, and I saw the huge one with New England. I said, ask yourself this: will Miami? When I was talking about the over/under, and it was like 48 or whatever. Will New England score more than 48 points? Because Miami's not going to score at all. So I was not shocked to see them cut out. And when I'm looking again this week and I'm seeing Dallas minus 21-point favorites against Miami and over under at 47.5, you have to ask yourself this again. Will Dallas score 47 points? Because there is a good chance Miami will not score any points in Dallas again. Like this,
47 is a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. They don't have any run game at all. And when they go up against a top corner, say goodnight. Like there's just nothing. And eventually when they turn the page over from Fitzpatrick to Rosen, it's not going to get any better because Rosen is not a capable quarterback with, maybe he is, but not with no weapons, right? Like this is really bad news for Miami. And I just think that they're going to continue to trade all of their little pieces. I mean, why wouldn't they? You're already on the clock for next year in draft. Like you're picking first overall. So just continue to trade these pieces and it's just going to get uglier and uglier. So like how we all got into this, you pay up for the defense this week, Dallas, $5,000. I mean, yeah, they may be chalky potentially because it is Miami, but at the same time, maybe people don't want to spend up all that money on their defense, but I think it'd be silly not to at least have the opposing team against Miami all year long.
They might be tragically historically bad.
Yes, I think they will.
I mean, we've had some 0-16 teams. I mean, they might be as bad as that Bucks team. And was it the Browns that went 0-16 a couple years ago? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah,
somebody went 0-16.
Yeah, Browns.
It's gonna be fascinating to watch. So any other hot takes or things that you're leaving here in week 2? I know for me, it's the Buffalo Bills defense, that being for real too. Again, they've only played the Jets and they've only played the Giants, but still, that's a good defense, and people need to recognize that. Anything else that you're starting to buy into from what you've seen here in the first 2 weeks of the season?
Not totally. I mean, Terry McLaurin is definitely the number one option in the Washington passing attack. I know it's not much of one, but he certainly is. It's just a couple of those waiver wire like hot wideouts that were picked up. They showed up again. Like you mentioned, John Brown, Marquise Brown. Like these are guys that actually had back-to-back good weeks, so it doesn't seem like a fluke. I guess the biggest takeaway for me from a DFS standpoint, we'll have to talk about this going forward, is game script with the Oakland Raiders. And there's a situation this week where I was asking myself, listen, they're probably going to be down against the Chiefs. is Josh Jacobs going to get 5 or 6 targets in this game? And if he is, then you have yourself a bell cow back with Josh Jacobs. You have yourself a borderline top 5 running back who is going to touch the ball 20 plus times every single week. He's going to get all of the red zone work, but unfortunately, he didn't get any looks at all in that game yesterday. It was more Jalen Richard and DeAndre Washington. Now, they didn't do a lot.
Oh, they were worse off.
They only had 4 catches. Maybe that changes going forward. Maybe Gruden says, listen, okay, these guys are not going to do anything for us anyways when we're down. We might as well keep Jacobs on the field and throw him the ball. But 70 snaps in 2 games and only 1 target, just slightly concerning. So that's it. Going forward, I guess when we break down the Oakland Raiders, we're going to have to take game script in consideration on whether Josh Jacobs is going to get a few catches out of the backfield. And I'm not ready to count him out and say that he's not going to. It's just I would have liked to see a little bit more work.
They were worse off for it.
They should have. You're right,
and they were in that kid's hand. That was
Absolutely.
bad job by them. They're trying to protect the kid a little bit.
Yeah,
and they ended up hurting themselves.
Yes.
Deebo Samuel's another one for me. I want to take away from this one because this was another game where it was a good opportunity for him to be good against the bad defense, and he was. He caught 5 of his 7 targets for 87 and a touchdown. The Steelers are coming in, and I guarantee you the Steelers are, the worst thing that can happen to the Steelers now, they got to get up and they got to get on the road and travel thousands of miles to San Francisco to play football game.
On a team that's 2-0 right now and feeling
a team that's 2-0 that's feeling it, and Samuel I think is going to give them fits because so far that defense has not played well. Now, granted, the offense hasn't helped, hasn't always put them in a good situation.
Oh.
But
what about Juju? Would you buy low on Juju? Like same sort of deal we were talking about Michael Thomas. Like
I would
probably get him.
Thomas 100%, Kamara 100%, Juju just slightly less, only because he's out for the year. Whereas Breeze coming back, maybe I take advantage of somebody's panic and not thinking long term enough. I'm not saying I wouldn't buy. I'll tell you what. Would you rather have Kenny Golladay or would you rather have Juju?
I would rather have Kenny Golladay. Listen, I said this before the season started, and Juju's a terrific talent, but when you take away a guy like Antonio Brown who faced all of that top coverage, like one of the best wide receivers in football, it's going to be an adjustment period for Juju. I watched that game where he went up against Gilmore. No offense to Juju. Like, I know you're not listening. I wish you were. Like, I love you. I love your interaction with everybody on social media. I think you're a terrific athlete, but he looked pretty soft in that matchup against New England, and he's going to be facing top corners all year long with an inexperienced quarterback. So, yeah, he may do enough for you in season-long formats. You're in a full-point PPR. You're going to get those games where he has 10 catches for like 65 yards perhaps, and you're like, okay, fine, I'll take the double-digit points, and I'll move on. But that's not what you paid for. That's not what you paid for heading into the year. So I have some concerns, but
I'll tell you what, I was shocked within, speaking of Juju and Brown and all that stuff, I was shocked that Brown was as active as he was in that game. That was shocking to me.
Especially with the first drive. I mean, the first 4 passes from Brady, I believe, went to Brown.
Oh, it was, and then when he almost caught 2 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah,
and then he caught the other one. And the one he caught was pretty spectacular. And it's just, you have to kind of moderate your excitement because it's the Dolphins.
Right.
But at the same time, I can't imagine what the rest of the league is thinking when they see, oh my God, Antonio Brown is actually the perfect fit in terms of weapon. We'll see if he plays, how long he plays, whatever, who knows.
The thing is, you have to double somebody, and who are you going to double? Like, you can't double everybody. You're going to double Brown, and then it's going to leave soft coverage for Josh Gordon, one-on-one coverage, Julian Edelman in the slot, James White in the backfield. Yeah, it's
a disaster.
You're looking at probably one of the worst teams assembled ever in Miami, and maybe one of the better ones in New England. I mean,
it's funny, that team that went 16-0 that had Moss and all those guys on it. Welker doesn't come close to the kind of big money player that Edelman is. So I don't really want to hear anybody tell me about that. I don't care if he got 120 balls every year. He always dropped the 5 that mattered every single time.
Yeah, agreed.
Brown is a better fit for this stage of Brady's career in terms of the kind of quarterback Brady is, more precision passer. The deep ball isn't what it used to be, all that stuff. And then they didn't have that third guy. I mean, they had Gronk, but they didn't have that third guy, that Josh Gordon type big body wide receiver. And they certainly didn't have a running game that looked like this, where you have Sony Michel and James White and Burkhead and all these other guys. And I'll tell you what, they certainly did not have a defense. They had a defense that was old and a defense that was starting to show cracks in it and it was kind of bend, don't break. They were just outscoring everybody and blowing the doors off. They were outscoring, they were giving up 25, 30, but they were scoring 40 every game. So it didn't matter. And then getting the playoffs, that changes. But I don't know, man. This is
and then on top of that, you got the defense. And then on top of that, the road to the Super Bowl of the AFC is going to have to come through Foxborough. Like, let's be honest. So
I'll tell you what, if I'm the Chiefs, you better handle your business, because you want that game back again in your spot. And you could probably write the Colts off. I know it's my fun little upset special of the year, but I'll tell you what, how about those Colts winning? They should be 2-0. They should be. I kept telling everybody, remember the Titans, baby. And now Vinatieri's going to retire. Every week, somebody's going to retire on the Colts, and they're just going to keep winning football games.
Oh man, I know. I'm waiting for that announcement, and the Colts apparently just try to talk him out of it. Like, don't retire yet. You're fine. You just missed a couple kicks. It's all good. Like, hang with us here a little bit. But
he's not fine.
No, he's not. Yeah, he's not fine. He doesn't look good. But yeah, I mean, good on the Colts, man, getting it done. Jacoby Brissett's another guy. Maybe he can help you out in your season-long formats, because you could have woke up Friday morning, wanted to cut ties with Cam Newton. Then you realize there's probably 3 or 4 other people in your league that are going to be rushing to get a quarterback too. So it's going to be an interesting moving forward. It's cancel the season. New England won the Super Bowl. Just cancel the season.
All right. So Chris and I will be back. Make sure you're subscribing to the pre-snap so you know when everything comes out, because Thursday we drop our DFS preview show. Friday is our wagering show when Mike Randall and I chat with that. It's been a really strong out of the gate here. We love the excitement from everybody too. So again, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. Me especially, because I am so insecure. I just need someone to tell me I'm good. But seriously, we really do appreciate it. And we appreciate all the support from all of our LineStar peeps as well. So go over there again. Go hit that LineStar app hard this week and get ready. And Thursday we'll be back with all of our evaluations, as well as some of the LineStar information for you as well. In the meantime, you can follow us on the Twitter machine at Joe Pisapia 17, at Chris Meaney, and of course at LineStar App and LineStar NFL. There's nothing left to do except break the huddle. And here we go. Pre-snap is over. It's time to set down, win.
You've been listening to the Pre-Snap Podcast, brought to you by LineStar. Hit subscribe, tell a friend, and stay tuned for the next episode from fantasy football experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.